standing at the mouth of a tunnel beneath an Amish farmhouse in Holmes County, Ohio, August. 100 degrees above your head and 55 degrees on your face. No compressor running, no thermostat on the wall, no wiring of any kind. Just a fan drawing less electricity than a single light bulb, and air that has traveled 200 feet through Earth that has never once changed temperature. The Amish have been building this for 200 years. The cooling industry documented it in 1930. That same year, one sentence in one corporate manual made sure you would never find out it existed. Here is the number that changes everything. At 6 feet below the surface, ground temperature locks in and stays there. Summer, winter, drought, heat wave, it does not move. Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the Department of Energy's own research facility, measured it. And what they found is underneath your house right now. Chicago, 55 degrees year-round. Atlanta, 62 degrees. Denver, 58 degrees. Phoenix, 67 degrees. Minneapolis, 52 degrees. These are not winter readings. These are not averages. These are the ground temperatures at 6 feet below the surface in each of those cities on the hottest day of July and the coldest day of January. The number does not change. The season does not matter. The surface can hit 110 degrees and the ground 6 feet down will not notice. The reason is physics, and it works in your favor. Soil is heavy, between 100 and 125 pounds per cubic foot. Moving that mass even a single degree requires 20 to 30 BTUs per cubic foot. When summer heat bakes the surface, it begins sinking, but it moves slowly. 6 to 8 weeks to penetrate just 6 feet. By the time that heat arrives at depth, the season has already turned. The Earth cannot absorb fast enough to warm up. It stays cool. It has always stayed cool. That makes the ground beneath your property the largest thermal battery on the planet. It is sitting there right now, fully charged, doing absolutely nothing because nobody told you it was there. Now consider what your AIR conditioner actually does. It compresses chemical refrigerant, forces it through coils, blows air across those coils, and dumps the heat outside. For every unit of electricity it consumes, it produces roughly 3.5 units of cooling. Engineers call that a coefficient of performance of 3.5. Earth tubes measured across 47 installations worldwide recorded a coefficient of performance of 28.7. 28 versus 3. That gap is worth billions of dollars a year in equipment, refrigerant, electricity, and service contracts. And it is exactly why you have never heard of this until now. The Amish did not read about this in a textbook. Every farm in Holmes County has a root cellar dug 10 feet deep. No insulation, no mechanical cooling. The soil holds it between 32 and 40 degrees every day of every year. That is not tradition. That is 2 centuries of applied physics. Then there are the spring houses, small structures built directly over natural springs where groundwater flows at 54 to 56 degrees constant. The water moves under the floor. The building stays between 50 and 58 degrees all summer. The Amish in Lancaster County and Holmes County use them to keep dairy and produce fresh without a single watt of electricity. I stood inside one on a 91-degree afternoon. I could see my breath. But the system that matters most is what the Amish call the breath of the floor. Clay pipes buried under farmhouse foundations. Air enters from outside, travels underground through those pipes, and rises through the floorboards already cooled by the earth. The USDA documented this in a manual, published in 1903. That document is 120 years old. The systems it describes are still running. The Amish who built these farms came from Germany and Switzerland. Those same 2 countries now lead the world in modern earth tube engineering. Germany has 847 monitored residential installations tracked by the Passive House Institute since 2005. ETH Zurich ran a 15-year study on system performance. The result across the entire monitoring period was zero degradation. Zero. The knowledge the Amish carried from Europe 200 years ago is the same knowledge Europe rediscovered with modern instruments. The circle closed. America never got the memo. In 1902, Willis Carrier invented mechanical air conditioning in a printing plant in Brooklyn. The problem he was solving was not heat. It was humidity warping paper on a production line. The machine was never designed for human comfort. By the 1920s, that detail had been erased. Carrier Corporation launched a campaign called Weathermaker, repositioning air conditioning as a symbol of American progress. Their marketing materials labeled passive cooling techniques, primitive and unsanitary. Then in 1930, a Carrier Engineering Corporation manual included one sentence: "Earth contact cooling is suitable only for cellars and food storage." One line. One corporate manual. 5,000 years of proven engineering disappeared from American construction in a single paragraph. It was not an accident. In 1927, the first model mechanical codes were drafted with heavy participation from HVAC industry representatives. Passive alternatives were not banned. They simply did not exist in the document. After World War II, the construction boom standardized mechanical cooling as the only acceptable approach. By 1980, fewer than 3% of American architecture programs taught any passive cooling strategy at all. In 2019, ASHRAE Technical Committee 6.8 rejected a proposal to create a performance pathway for earth tubes. Their stated reason was insufficient domestic data. They said this while sitting on 847 monitored European installations covering 3 decades of performance records. When researchers analyzed the committee membership, 67% were representatives of HVAC manufacturers. The Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute spent $47.3 million on political activities in 2022 alone. The residential cooling market is worth $29 billion a year. Every earth tube installed is a compressor never sold, a refrigerant charge never refilled, a service contract never signed. You do not need to build from scratch. You do not need to tear up your foundation or replace your existing system. You need a yard, a side yard, even a strip of land the width of a car running along a fence line. That is enough. Here is what the system looks like for an existing home. You dig a trench 6 feet deep along whatever stretch of land you have available. The run needs to be between 100 and 200 feet for full thermal exchange. You lay smooth wall HDPE or PVC pipe 6 to 8 inches in diameter. Smooth wall is not optional. Corrugated pipe traps condensation in its ridges and breeds mold. You lay the pipe on a bed of sand for maximum contact with the surrounding earth. You slope it at a 2% grade toward a drain point, so any moisture that condenses inside the pipe flows out and never pools. One end connects to an intake above ground fitted with a screen to keep debris and animals out. The other end connects into your house through a basement wall or crawl space fitted with an MERV 13 filter and an inline fan drawing between 50 and 80 watts. On a 95-degree day, the air that comes out the other end has traveled 200 feet through earth locked at 55 degrees. It exits between 65 and 75 degrees. No compressor, no refrigerant, no chemical process. Just air and earth and physics. That air is also drier. Condensation on the pipe walls captures moisture and airborne particles as the air passes through. Humidity drops from 80% to under 50%. The total material cost runs approximately $300. The pipe lasts 50 to 100 years. Your central air unit lasts 15 to 25 before it ends up in a landfill. For homes in high humidity, southern climates, coastal Florida in particular, there is a smarter variant. Instead of moving air through the buried pipe, you circulate a closed loop of water mixed with glycol. The liquid travels through the buried loop, picks up the Earth's constant temperature, then passes through a heat exchanger inside the house. Cool air comes out. No air ever touches the buried pipe. No condensation forms inside it. No mold risk. No radon concern. And because it uses standard plumbing fittings, it qualifies under existing plumbing provisions in every state. No special permit. No building inspector who has never heard of earth tubes and does not know what box to put it in. A man in rural Tennessee. 1,500 square foot house built in the 1970s. Standard construction, standard insulation, nothing remarkable about it. His heating and cooling bill ran $240 a month in summer and nearly the same through winter. 3 years ago, he built a closed-loop glycol system. He did not put it under his house. He put it under his workshop. The workshop sits 12 feet from his back door. He trenched a 6-foot deep loop under the workshop floor over 2 weekends using a rented machine. He ran the glycol lines through the wall of his house and connected them to a fan coil unit he bought online for $80. The circulator pump draws 40 watts. The fan coil unit sits in a closet. He did not touch a single duct. He did not pull a single permit because a glycol loop buried in the ground is a plumbing system, not an HVAC system, and the code has a box for plumbing. In summer, the loop pulls heat out of his house and dumps it into 55-degree earth. In winter, it pulls 55 degrees of warmth from that same earth and pushes it back in. One system, 2 functions, 12 months of results. His existing furnace and air conditioner are still connected. He just never turns them on. Total material cost was under $400. Heating and cooling bill since installation, $0. That is not a prototype. That is a retired school teacher in Tennessee who understood what the dirt under his workshop was already doing for free and decided to stop paying someone else to do it worse. The Persians stored ice through 120-degree desert summers 2,400 years ago using the same physics. The Romans engineered cooling channels under their villas. The Koreans ran air passages beneath floors for 3,000 years. Every civilization that mastered extreme climate arrived at the same answer independently. The Earth stores temperature. The pipe is just the path. The ground beneath your house sits at 55 degrees. It has always sat at 55 degrees. It will sit at 55 degrees long after every air conditioner ever manufactured has rusted into nothing. The Amish never lost this knowledge. You were just never given it. Now you have it. Drop your state and your summer cooling bill in the comments. And if you want the next system the industry tried to bury, subscribe, because next week covers the Amish water method the EPA moved to classify as non-compliant in 2012. They failed. That story is coming.